What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stokastic here on the Odd Chopper channel, coming to you with another edition. Hopefully, ladies, links, locks, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods, my friends. Oh, my friends. Wednesday was a clean sweep in the premium Discord. That was fun stuff. That was very, very fun stuff. Now, we'll see how everything carries over here into Thursday. But of course, we're talking about the 7 games that lie before us here on Friday. So this is a forward-looking show. We are ready to make you some money here on this Friday. Let's start that journey over at BetMGM. If you sign up down below, you click on that link. Bet 5, get $158 in bonus bets. That's 3 different bonus bets, 50, 50, 58. Look at that. I can do math. 58 for Super Bowl 58. And yes, you thought I had a pretty good NBA day the other day too. NFL Lindy's was in fuego this weekend. Yeah, Green Bay money line. That was a thing that actually happened in the world. Thanks for coming. Have a nice day. Ended up locking that in the premium Discord too over the weekend. Ended up firing a little bit more on it. Felt nice, felt right. Hopefully we can run back some goodness. I found one play that's a little bit of a long shot that I'm interested in here. Haven't bet it yet for the wild card weekend, but Saturday and Sunday, going to be amazing stuff. Excited to talk about that with premium Discord. Yeah, of course. But with producer Jacob here tomorrow, recording that nice and early there in the morning. Going to be great stuff for sure, but only for 21 and over, signing up at BetMGM. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. 7 games, lots to get to. Producer Jacob, let's get to the picks. One of the ironic parts of doing this video is that, like, for me, I don't like the idea of picks. And here's kind of what I'm getting at. It's been something I've said recently on a lot of shows. I've said it a lot. I did a Lindy's Locks update last week. And yeah, we'll get back to that here now that, things have settled down a little bit here. But San Antonio, Charlotte, I don't like the idea of picks purely because everything's a good bet depending on what the number is and depending on what your bankroll is. And what I'm getting at is that there are times you should be looking at long shots such as this, where San Antonio is actually the team that I prefer here in this spot. Charlotte, yes, they have LaMelo Ball back. Hasn't exactly looked awesome out on the floor here yet. Terry Rozier doing a lot offensively. It's just it's a weird spot because Victor Wembanyama, he's playing 24, 25 minutes here. He's been one of the better producers when on a floor out of anybody in the NBA. He just doesn't play enough minutes to kind of justify what we're looking at for some of these numbers. And I think Zach Collins being upgraded to questionable, I think he ends up playing here. And I think San Antonio, this is closer to a 50-50. But my whole idea of saying that, I don't love picks, I'm looking at a number like this. I see Trey Jones here at the top of my page. And whenever I take the odds and I just update it the night before, it's like, well, I'm giving you the best play I have from this game at the point of which I'm recording it. That could change. There are times like this where it's like, does Victor Wembanyama keep playing the 5? And what I'm getting at in my apprehension here is I think you need to start auditioning Zach Collins very shortly if you're trying to move him if you're San Antonio. I think he's an asset to potentially a contender as a, like the Mason Plumlee situation where, hey, you need a big who can get some stuff done on a floor. The Clippers went out and got him at the deadline from Charlotte, kind of surprisingly, considering they had Zubats who plays that big role. They just basically wanted a plug and play of another Zubats directly behind him. But this is one of those things where it's so hard to just talk from a data perspective based on the current lines and then say, well, I actually like San Antonio if they go to a potential lineup that nobody is predicting. How do I look at this? How do I value this? Things are going to change drastically, and I don't want to have it in stone or granite the night before that, hey, by the way, Eric, you liked the under of 13.5 points for Trae Young, but you know what? That's why I came up with leans, likes, locks, because a lean allows me to talk about it for the people who want informative betting content. And it allows for me to say, hey, this is a play that I think is justified right now because Trey Jones has a chance to potentially not start every single game going forward. I think he still does, but there's a way in which Zach Collins starts creeping himself onto the floor and doesn't just play backup 5 behind Wembanyama. And even still, if he does, I think Zach Collins is a guy who could end up walking into 23, 24 minutes as a direct backup at the 5 to Wembanyama. Lots of ways that this plays out. Just want to talk through the process as we get closer to the trade deadline. Teams are trying to audition off guys, especially teams that are trying to lose like San Antonio, but still, again, it's contradictory to have San Antonio be the team that's projecting out better when you're talking about quote unquote value. So lots that I talked about just for a lean, but I hope it was informative and I hope it helps you make better decisions going forward. By the way, I'm taking a lean on the under of Trey Jones, under 13.5 points. I think it's a little bit high considering all of the news. Producer Jacob's laughing because he's just like, Eric, you get so worked up for no reason. It's adorable. Actually, that's not what he thinks it is. He thinks, Eric, we got to go. Next game, folks. But hey, in the spirit of picks, I have one here. So here you go. Philadelphia taking on Orlando. And there's actually two plays that are sitting right next to each other in terms of modeling. Because again, market-based approach, that's what OddsShopper is. And a lot of times when I'm doing this video the night before, what I have to be smart about is how I go about projecting minutes, how I go about projecting player performance. And because the market-based approach, sometimes lines are going to move quickly. And then all of a sudden you should be taking under on a guy like Emmanuel quickly. See what I did there? These are next level jokes, or not jokes, they're just facts. But Philadelphia 26-13 against the spread. I didn't even know that. It's not a team that we've backed a whole hell of a lot here in the marketplace this season, if you've been following along all season long. But this is a weird spot with Orlando because Goga Bitadze, I've talked about it time again, been one of the best defensive centers in the entire NBA, second in defensive rating behind Rudy Gobert, smack dab between him, Isaiah Hartenstein. Depending on how Hartenstein plays tonight, that could change because it's a sliver between him and Goga Bitadze. But Bitadze played 24 minutes in a competitive spot against Atlanta. They're still making way for Wendell Carter Jr. now off the back. It was a direct 50-50 split of the center minutes. Let me just say that you're going to need the defensive prone one on the floor more to try to deal with Joel Embiid. And yet, I don't know if that necessarily happens here. You might abandon it just for the sake of saying, you know what, we need to try to score points to stay, level with it. And I think it's strange that Mo Wagner didn't even show up in that last game for what it's worth. There's some weird stuff happening here with Orlando. Just want to be on high alert for it. Obviously, Franz Wagner continues to be out. That is a problem for them. Confirmed. Good at the basketballs. But both of the plays that I'm talking about and alluding to are, surprisingly enough, well, not surprising. Again, points props have been all over my board for the last month and a half. We've taken some unders in some spots, especially, as it gets closer to lock, because I don't want random injury news to pop up. And then it's like, hey, this guy's questionable and you took the under. And now all of a sudden the line's going to move against you. And I feel like a dum-dum. But this isn't over for you, as is the other play I thought about putting on here. I'm just going to tell you what it is so that people who are listening. 33.5 points for Joel Embiid. Shouldn't surprise you for the guy that has the highest usage in the NBA as somebody who's projecting out for higher than 33.5. I just don't know how these center minutes play out with Bitadze and Mr. Wendell Carter Jr., because I think it'll probably be closer to 26 or 28 for Bitadze, 20 or 22 for one Wendell Carter here in this spot, because, again, you want the defensive prone guy out there, even if Goga Bitadze is not the most fleet of foot, if you will. But I'm looking at Kelly Oubre. 11.5 points here is just such a low number. You've seen Tobias Harris step into his own and the usage come up. You've seen Tyrese Maxey step into his own and the usage come up. And yet, the numbers have kind of stayed the same for Kelly Oubre. And he's only had 9 at 8 shot attempts the last two. D'Anthony Melton's out. He's going to be on the floor for minutes here. And eventually, if one of those three guys doesn't have the best shooting day, the usage is going to trail up here. And I think this is kind of a low ball number on a Kelly Oubre who is literally out there to shoot the basketball and do nothing else. He averages 13.1 points per game. He's decent enough on the boards at 4.1 rebounds per game, but 27 minutes per game has been his average on the season. And yes, Orlando, when you do the pace numbers, they do not run it up and down the floor as much as you might expect. But they're still not bottom of the barrel. They're dead middle of the NBA, 16th, 98.9 possessions per 48 minutes. Another long explanation, I promise. I'll hurry it up. But Kelly Oubre, over, friends. We like the over of 11.5 points. Wanted to talk through the process of some of these bets, and then we'll speed it up here right now after we talk OddsShopper. $14.95 weekly, $49.95 monthly, friends. OddsShopper, the market-based approach, the opportunity to sort at the top of the EV tool and have the best plays based on a market-based approach. What is that? It is comparing all the sports books in all of the land, or in your case, every single state that you're involved in. And you are able to go to that state that you are in, see every sports book, and sort by expected value. The positive EV tool, it'll tell you everything that is projecting out the best. It'll tell you based on your bankroll size exactly how much you should be putting into play, and then you can find the best plays and win more money over a long sample size. $14.95 weekly right now, $49.95 monthly, but it gets better. You can try it out for a first week or first month using promo code Lindy, Lindy, on your screen there. 20% off at the link below to get OddsShopper. Oh, yeah. And by the way, you get the premium Discord too. So you get my exact betting card every single day for just $12 your first week, $15 a week going forward, or $50 for a month, which would be just over $12 a week. I mean, that's ridiculous stuff, friends. Sign up now. Get down into Odd Shopper. Would love to see you there. Lots of new faces. Great places, South Dakota. That is the motto from my homeland, for anybody who cares. We should probably keep talking. Back to the picks we go, Producer Jacob. The Denver Nuggets taking on Producer Jacob's Boston Celtics, and he is just banging the drum against his team here in this spot. It's a little bit surprising to me. Producer Jacob, he's on one here. But the one piece of news you have to pay attention to, oh yeah, there's no news to pay attention to. Isn't that wild how that always happens? Because Boston had everybody out the other day, and now everybody's back in. So Boston playing at full strength up against the Denver Nuggets at full strength. And Denver, they ran into the Joel Embiid buzzsaw. That was a wild game to watch. It was like an all-star game, 76-76 at halftime. Good stuff. I was on my way to go watch the game of the year so far, the comeback, the fourth quarter that was for the Phoenix Suns against the Sacramento Kings. I've talked about that enough, and nobody gives a flying F. It is what it is. I care. Anywho, we are looking, friends, at Boston hosting Denver. This is a little bit wide for a line. I get it, Producer Jacob. I get it. And yet I'm having a tough time wanting to pull the trigger. I think it's close to efficient. I think with Boston being number one in terms of adjusted net rating, plus 9.7, they have been by far the best team in the NBA, and they're completely healthy right now. And Denver, while they are fifth in the NBA right now, plus 5.2 adjusted net rating over at dunks and threes, I'm still having a tough time trying to find any kind of value here. Even if you set the line at 6.5, you still have to beat the Vigorish, the Vig. That's the handle that you're talking about, minus 110 on both sides. So you're paying a price to try to be like better than a point. And that's not something you want to get in a habit of here. It would be nice if you had it wider than that at 7.5, 8. We could have a conversation. If it were 9, it would be a lock. But at this number, I think you just kind of want to be cautious. So there's a player prop that I'm a little bit interested in because at full strength, one guy that I know Producer Jacob likes is Kristaps Porzingis on his Celtics, averaging 19, 7, and 2. So let's do the math on this. 19, 7, that's 26. With 2, that's 28. And it's a competitive game. And Boston doesn't play a lot of competitive games because they do have spots where they run people out of the gym, or they have that weird thing that happened in Milwaukee where they got completely pummeled. Just saying, because of the blowout potential, I think 26.5, competitive spot, as competitive of a spot as you can ask Boston to have at home over the course of the season. Think there's some value here on the over 26.5 PRA, but because I haven't bet it yet, I can't advise it as a bet yet. So if you want to take advantage, this is one that I just left off the card. Obviously, I haven't touched it yet. Hopefully you still have the value that'll exist there because I haven't bet it yet. So over 26.5 PRA, I think is an interesting spot. Trying to stretch the floor, get Jokic out of the paint. Makes a lot of sense that you're going to have Kristaps Porzingis knocking down threes. Maybe we miss threes. I'll have to take a look at that tomorrow. But anyway, over 26.5, and then Denver plus 5.5. I do think that's the side of it. Obviously, these are contradictory ideas, but as somebody who took their mother to the DraftKings Sportsbook in Arizona the other night and has her get the Dallas Goedert touchdown, only touchdown the Philadelphia Eagles score, in Tampa Bay plus 3.5, there's obviously something to it. Just haven't done it yet. Fuck. How did my mom, out of thin air, South Dakota State Jackrabbits, what in the world? That's where Dallas got her win. That's why she bet him. Unbelievable. Anyway, we've got the Atlanta Hawks taking on the Miami Heat in this spot. And the obvious piece of news that you're paying attention to, Jaime Jaquez, friends. He's been one of the best rookies in the entire NBA. I'd call him the third best rookie behind Wembanyama, behind Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren being number one, of course. But he is somebody who is going to be doubtful for this one. Kevin Love upgraded to questionable. They have the core guys, Lowry, Hero, Butler, Jovic in that starting lineup, and Bam Adebayo. Bringing Josh Richardson, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin off the bench for right around 24 minutes apiece here. Kind of seems to be what it is. But the Atlanta side has the massive piece of news. Questionable Trae Young. Good luck getting a prop from Atlanta before that news drops. You're not. There are going to be no props available all the way up until game time. Hopefully that news breaks sooner rather than later. Also, look at this. That's not accurate. There's no way. 10 and 20 against the spread? 10 and 30 against the spread? They're 10 and 30 against the spread? Just learned that now. Anywho, let's continue on our merry way here because I have one thing that I was kind of looking at here, and I'm not going to end up doing it. Trae Young has to be in for it. And then you're probably not going to be able to capture this number. But Atlanta, you know by now, it's all about that pace, no treble, 102.0 possessions per 48 minutes here over the course of the season, bringing all of the offense and none of the defense, 119.4 defensive rating, 26th in the association. And what does that mean? Well, it means Miami getting Jimmy Butler back, who, by the way, is somebody I'm actually interested in some of his props. They're a team that offensively hasn't been all that stout, 114.1 possession or 114.1 adjusted offensive rating, but that has to improve. Jimmy Butler being back in action. He's been out for quite some time here. And so as I kind of adjust the baseline and move that little cursor a little bit to the side here, 232, is the number that it was coming out with. That's not quite good enough to want to pull the trigger again. Sounds like a lot. 3.5 point difference, Eric. Oh my God. Again, you have to beat minus 110. You got to beat the VIG. And I'm not going to betting things that have 3.5 point too often. If it gets to 227.5, I would, but I doubt it does. People like betting overs. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to call it a lean. Caution. Trae Young's questionable. This is just an awful spot to try to have anything happen unless you just know what his status is going to be. Then take the over if he ends up in. Okay, there are 3 players that are all within like a 1% expected value. So I'm giving you all 3 in this spot. Do not play this over on Prize Picks because obviously in Prize Picks, there's just a different way that you want to go about things. And it's only like a 5X number. Maybe you single game parlay this over at FanDuel was the best number as I started playing through this for all you FanDuel people, if you care about such things. But I want to talk about it because Phoenix taking on New Orleans, obviously Phoenix just did that really cool thing with Eric Gordon knocking down a bazillion threes. Kevin Durant actually showing up in the fourth quarter, coming back from 22 down inside of 9 minutes and winning that basketball game. Unbelievable stuff that can really jumpstart a team that's kind of been sputtering. And we're waiting for the Beal, Booker, Kevin Durant show to really take off. Really weird plus minuses last time out too. Dig through that one on your own. But 22-18 now on the season. They're a team on the rise. They're 8th in the Western Conference. We all expect them to be higher as long as all of these core 3 guys stay healthier. And maybe they can make a move for one other bench piece. Because I'm just going to throw it out there. As much as I love Grayson Allen here in the starting unit and has been outperforming expectations by a boatload, and then Chimezie Metu and Eric Gordon off the bench, they're not exactly zeros. You need something more. You definitely need something more. But we are looking also at the Pelican side of things. Have you watched CJ McCollum recently? And I'm not a big, in their last 10 games, they've done this other than as a talking point. But, CJ McCollum is on a little bit of a usage tear, and I don't think it's getting enough attention. Brandon Ingram, the usage is coming down. And we're seeing CJ McCollum come into his own from 3-point land from a lot of these spots. And again, he has hit this number now in 3 of his last 5. And in really weird game scripts. They blew Charlotte out of the water, only played 29 minutes. He only played 29 minutes after getting in foul trouble, 5 fouls against Dallas. He only played 30 minutes against Denver with a 12-point disparity. And then they blew Golden State out of the water, only 14 points when they won by infinity in that game. Oh, and they won by 33 the game previous to it. He still got to 30 points, but only 27 minutes. They have really adjusted this number for no reason. 32 minutes per game is his average. 19.6 points per game is his average. And I get it. You're playing Phoenix here in this spot, but that is 5 consecutive spots where he's gone over in 3 of 5 with completely asinine game scripts besides the Dallas game. I don't understand this line based on the newfound usage because he's had 16, 17, 15 shot attempts in those 3 games that he went over, and he didn't exceed 30 minutes in a single one. So his baseline is just wrong. It's the highest out of all these, but there's other 2 baselines that I think are wrong too. Bradley Beal is not going to have as much usage as Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and yet their numbers have been drastically undercut by his presence. If you had Eric Gordon out there instead of Bradley Beal, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd see Devin Booker at 28.5. You'd see Kevin Durant at 29.5. And yet that's not how it's projected. You can't have all 3 getting 25% usage every single game. That doesn't add up. That's not how the math works. And you have Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon in the corners to do the Lord's work and knock down open shots. But in a competitive spot, after some really wonky game scripts, I kind of like the combination of the 3. CJ McCollum's opening number, over 18.5 points inside of minus 110, sitting at minus 105, the worst of the 3 numbers. But also over 24.5 and over 25.5 for Kevin Durant. So Booker, 24.5, Kevin Durant, 25.5. I know that was a mouthful. I know there's a lot of stuff in this corner, but I think this is a really good opportunity to realize that Bradley Beal isn't going to have 25% usage. And as much as he might have the hot hand approach from time to time, so has Grayson Allen of late. Get in early on the two guys who are expected to carry this team. And in some of these road spots, they need to start winning. They're going to play extended minutes. They're going to push Booker and Durant. Be early to the party on these things. I'm done yelling. To BetMGM we go. Friends, take a look down below. Bet $5, get $158 in bonus bets instantly. It will be paid out as 3 different bonus bets, a $50 one, another $50 one, and a $58 bonus bet in honor of Super Bowl 58. You want exposure to multiple sports books because of market-based approach. You're comparing lines across sharp sports books, and then some of them are public books where you want to be getting that action down. BetMGM is one of those public books. They have the best golf odds, bar none. In baseball, they had some of the best home run props, bar none. And we'll say in the NBA streets, they always seem to be a half point here, a half point there off on some of these teams and totals. So if you're somebody who likes to bet teams and totals, I'm telling you, BetMGM is an awesome sports book to have in your repertoire. And when you deposit $10 or more and bet just $5 of that on anything I recommended here or anything your heart's desires, you'll get $158 in bonus bets instantly. Doesn't just say that there on the page for any reason. Use that QR code, sign up at the link down below, only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Back to the picks we go. Holy Lord almighty. Oh my, oh my, oh my. We're looking at Indiana on a back-to-back with like a million guys that ended up out. Let's go through the injury report here of what ended up happening pre-game, because again, this game is just about to tip off here, for the Indiana Pacers in this wonky spot on Thursday. Aaron Nesmith gets ruled out. Tyrese Halliburton ends up getting ruled out much earlier in the day. You ended up getting Benedict Mather and Obi Toppin, which was surprising to me, and Kendall Brown for anybody who cares, although he's been in the rotation at times. They are in the rotation here for today. I don't know what to make of this spot here. They're going up against Sacramento. They obviously ended up as the lock at plus 8.5. I was hoping to get everybody in there. That would have been really useful, especially that Tyrese Halliburton character. But you're going to try to win one of these two games, and it is far more important that you get the guaranteed win or the perceived guaranteed win against Portland, although it's not really that. And it's not because, you know, they had the sheet of ice there outside of DeAndre Jordan's driveway, and now it's back, and now it's out, and now he's going to, you know what I'm talking about, Google it. But just saying, he'll be back in the rotation. I'm not sure what this opening number is. It really depends on Tyrese Halliburton, as you should know by now. But TJ McConnell, he's definitely going to play a boatload of minutes tonight against Sacramento, probably an egregious amount of minutes. And hopefully Tyrese Halliburton just being held out for tomorrow. Andrea Nembhard also ended up out, so throw that one into the mix. Lots of ways that this rotation could pan out for you on Friday, or just my guess is we have no idea what we're going to do here. And then Portland, look at their rotation from last game. I was trying to project out what their minutes are going to be. Malcolm Brogdon goes from being like, hey, we got to put him in bubble wrap to like being unleash the beast. And now you're just going to have all these. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? Oh, yeah, we're going to just deal with this tomorrow. If you want to bet anything here and you want to ask me about it, hit me up on X at Eric Lindquist. Be happy to let you know. Let's go to the last game of the night. Producer Jacob, hit the button. Let's get to the lock. I don't know if this is like the way that it's supposed to work out. This is not typically how it works out, but feels as though the locks have been like later in the night here on the last couple of shows. Whether it's not on purpose, because if the first game of the day had the best play in it, I would lock it. It's the best thing. It's the last play of the night that we're paying attention to here, friends. Brooklyn taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. And I always get wonky when it spreads, where it's like, oh, this team's on a back-to-back, this team's not. But we have neither team on a back-to-back here in this spot. This is such a muted, interesting spot here. And it just comes down to what we think the Los Angeles Lakers are going to look like here going forward. Because D'Angelo Russell, inserted into the starting lineup, has been kind of a godsend for this offense. And that's not something I expected to say, because I just didn't see him being a part of the Lakers long-term. But maybe played himself into a viable piece. Now, you get this questionable mark next to LeBron James all the time. It is what it is, whatever. But eventually teams are going to force problems for the likes of D'Angelo Russell here in the pick and roll. And I think this is where it begins. The Brooklyn Nets have so many offensively minded guards that they can rotate between. And it's not just going to be a Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, who's basically a 3, but for the sake of conversation pieces, we'll talk through this. But Spencer Dinwiddie, he's kind of like the tipping point of it. They can go to Cam Thomas, who could make life hell on him. They could also go to Lonnie Walker, who is seeing more and more minutes at times and creating a headache. 25 and 19 minutes in 2 of the last 3. Smack dab between it, only played 9 against Miami. But if you get Lonnie Walker and some shooting out onto the floor, the variance for this game goes way, way, way up. 19, 19, and 2. This number is being factored. We know the Lakers are a publicly bet team. We understand this. It is something that should be understood. Now, do people in Vegas, do professional sports bettors think about things that way? Maybe a little bit, but for the most part, what they do is they look at the history of these 5 players on a floor together, that being the new starting 5 for the last 2 games: D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis on the floor together. Should they be that big of a favorite? 6.5-point favorites against Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Nicholas Claxton, the first center in the last couple of matchups who can actually play center and make life difficult on Anthony Davis? I would argue no. They just faced Dallas and a rookie in Derek Lively. You know what Anthony Davis did? He made him his little you-know-what. They faced Oklahoma City that has zero interest in rebounding the basketball, the worst offensive rebounding team in the entire association, and defensively, Anthony Davis was able to scoop up everything, 15 rebounds in 38 minutes. Actually expected more out of him in that spot. Just saying, there's that. And then there's Utah, who has a restraint for some reason of putting Walker Kessler on the floor when really that was the obvious matchup to try to have Anthony Davis up against. They had Phoenix, where Yusuf Nurkic, that was the first guy who was really able to make things difficult on him. Oh, what happened? Oh, yeah, Anthony Davis put up only 13, 5, and 1. Just saying, it's been an unbelievable string of play here for the Lakers, and this is not a good line here at open. I would be shocked if it went crazy inside to like 6 or 5.5, which is generally what I'm looking at for spreads. But this is more of a disagreement based on what is on the other side here. They can't just go into the post and get automatic offense every single time. Now, Nicholas Claxton, followed up by Day'Ron Sharpe, not exactly the best situation on planet Earth. I'm not saying that they're going to quote unquote stop them, but they're not zeros. And it's not Day'Ron Sharpe, it's Trendon Watford. I know that it's playing the backup 5, but I digress. My apologies. Royce O'Neal, a wing who can come in and rotate defensively. Dorian Finney-Smith defensively. And DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr. defensively, coming out there on D'Angelo Russell. Some defensive pieces that can mix in. And if Cam Thomas doesn't get hot early, or Lonnie Walker doesn't get hot early, they can go to those pieces. This is a spot where you want to be on Brooklyn plus 6.5. I'm going to be for a full unit. If you want to go a half unit, so be it. But just know, this is a spot I'm also going to be looking to potentially short Anthony Davis, which is always something that isn't going to be the best sweat on planet Earth because he just eviscerated anybody any given night. But Brooklyn plus 6.5, it's my favorite play on the 7-game slate so far. We'll see what pops up tomorrow. Hit me up on X at Eric Lindquist, or sign up for that premium Discord. Ask me questions all the live long day. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. You know what to do. Go to that comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist here on this 7-game slate we have before us. Going to be a really fun one that we got going. Yeah, it's been a good week of NBA action, that's for sure. Hopefully you've been able to profit. Hopefully you've been following me over on X, and we've been able to hit a couple of those freebies that I've thrown out there as well for the people. Clippers minus 4.5 felt really, really good. Kind of a backdoor cover of sorts. Got it all done in the last 3 minutes. But hey, a win's a win, and we've been running pretty darn good here. Let's keep running good. That would make me happy. You can start by running good by betting $5 and getting $158. When you deposit $10 or more at BetMGM down below, only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you, producer Jacob. Another great week of work in the books. Give him some love also for that trade deadline slip. That looked really, really sharp, really, really cool. Always looking for value adds, always looking to help you guys out, talk through the process of betting rather than just picks. That's very important to me, so I can keep doing this and keep my sanity. That'd be awesome. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Have a great weekend. Best of luck in the NBA streets on Friday.